Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Do me a favor, man. If you like the way any of this information or topics are being discussed or presented, hit the like button before getting on out of here, or consider becoming a subscriber to the channel. You can support the channel with a donation at to my Cash App at $ a tribe called Reg. Or you could just share it, man. But again, any engagement, in the video, you like a song that I'm getting ready to talk about with this album right here, you like some production or whatever, any kind of comment, all of that is currency. So anyway, get that out the way. This new album, the ninth studio album from longtime producer Statik Selektah. One of my favorites, man. I mentioned this on the little reaction video I did to the record, Balance Beam. There was a time, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where Stat was on a very short list of guys that I loved everything he was doing musically. And I thought it was a vast gap between him and the next group of guys. But now I won't say that he's falling back to the to the field, but it's a lot of dudes I think who kind of sprouted up doing something similar to what he does. So that's just some thoughts on that. I checked this album out yesterday while I was getting a bike ride in, trying to do another 40-mile ride. Check this out. See how it's snowing out there? I don't know if you can tell. But it's snowing. It's snow on the ground today. Yesterday I was outside riding with some compression stuff on and a t-shirt and shorts, and rode for was out on my bike for 3 hours. And that's what it is today here in the big Midwest. But I probably overvalued the album a little bit yesterday. Like if I would have rated it yesterday, my rating for this project would have been markedly higher. Today, man, I really don't want to get into a rating of it as much. I would say I would have put it in my album of the year discussion. After listening to it today, it might be just outside of that group. And don't get me wrong, there's some really strong projects inside of that group. So it's not like I'm trying to diminish Stat's work here. I really like this album. And I think it's bolstered by maybe 4 tracks. It's 16 tracks total. And it's 4 joints that really do it for me. Track 1 is The Healing featuring Black Thought. The production is all kind of sound like it's a lot of instrumentation on here. I was looking at it's some different musicians that are credited. Brady Watt, bass player from Premier's band, I believe. I think it's Premier whose band he was in. But he does some work on here. It's some people playing flute. And some of the one of the tracks on here is real gospel sounding. A lot of them sound very R&B-ish. It's a very mature album, and I think it goes well with the mature concept of the balancing act. And it's interesting for Statik Selektah to put this album together, but I feel like it's addressing an artist on here and the theme addresses what I see going on in the black community right now. And a very honest observation that, and I think it's all spoken by the album cover. It's Statik Selektah holding his daughter, and I think that's part of this balancing act thing that I've been circling around as a mantra myself. You have to be a lot of things all at one time to be a provider. You might have to be the muscle for your house. You might have to be the muscle for your team in the streets. you might have to be, man, I mean, you might have to raise a daughter. You might be raising a young man. You might be raising an athlete. You might be raising a musician. You might be trying to, you may not have graduated from college or even thought about college, but you might have a child who you're helping go down that road because of where they are or what you've invested in him or her. You might be a husband, you might be in the clubs, you might have ladies, plural. It's a lot of different things that you can be all at one time. And what I'm getting tired of is how we can sometimes disregard the grind, the hustle, the struggle of another like it's nothing, because it's not what we're about. But I'm going to get into some of that here. But anyway, I'm only really going to talk about the 4 tracks that really blew me away. The Healing starts off with Black Thought. Some of this, man, I guess it's a shame it's only one verse, but some very dope stuff said in here by Black Thought, who's one of the most thoughtful, obviously. But he says, ain't no porgy and best, and the story gets stretched as long as any glorious quest. It's purely a test. The moral is, the more we invest, the more the return, when excellence is all we accept. Respect that I earned is a testament that surely I'm blessed. Never stress, that's a prerequisite to earlier death. Comes back and says, I've been feeling myself since I felt the bass in the speaker. I've been healing myself. That's another way to get equal. I've been healing myself. That's dope. I'm revealing myself as another face of the people. All my greatest achievements prevail in the face of evil. All my brothers and sisters keep willing so they can see you. Very encouraging. Obviously, that's thoughtful, dope, high level, thinking, an excellent outlook on the world, man. I love Thought. But the very strong start to the album. Like I said on my recap, my little reaction video yesterday, track 2, Keep It Moving, featuring Gary Clark Jr., Joey Badass, and Nas. This single just it was good a month ago when I heard it. In the context of the album, it's a very strong record. I like, again in here, I think it's Stat that says this, but he says, life's a balancing act for real. We'll get through it. Just keep it moving. The name of the song is Keep It Moving. Track 3, Play Around, featuring Conway, The Machine, Allen Kingdom, 2 Chainz, and Killer Mike. I like how Killer Mike shows some range with his flow on here. Decent verse from Conway, but the song really didn't move me all that much, to be honest. Track 4, Hard Living, featuring Dave East and Method Man. An interesting pairing, seeing as how Dave East played Method Man on the first season of the Wu-Tang Joint on series on Hulu. Solid, very R&B-ish type song. Nice bass line on here. I like how Dave East is in the chorus talking about how you losing, but you talking winning. You're out here trying to tell people how you winning or how to win, and in reality, you're actually not doing all that great on the scoreboard. I think that's a recurring problem that I see right now. Another profanity-free feature from Meth. I was thinking before I said this, I didn't write down any of his lyrics, man, but Meth is very consistent when he gets in the booth and when he pops up in these features. I just don't know that he's really going. I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. I don't know if Meth is really going to do anything, maybe on these features, that's really going to blow me away, but it's still at a very, very, very high level. It's something great about consistency. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people can't be consistent. Track 5, Time by Jack Harlow. Another very R&B-ish, some synth or some keyboards going on here. I really like this joint, man. Another one, it's only like one verse. Very honest record, very thoughtful record. As a young dude talking to young people, I'm glad that he shared this message to the young people that rock with him. But he says, I like his very matter-of-fact delivery. And based on the dude is from Tennessee? now living in Atlanta or something. But he says, I would like to find love before my time's up. Don't get me wrong, I know I'm young and I ain't trying to rush. It just seems nice. But it's tough when nobody matches up to the hype or really are the way they seem like. Again, people at war right now trying to fit in with balanced life and online. The real you and the online you. Or the real other people and the online other people. A pandemic, he gets into talking about, he's lamenting on time, but a pandemic and a climate change at the same time doesn't make you feel like everything's fine. Quite the opposite. I'm a skeptic, but I'm still quite the optimist. I'm going to try to stay that way till I do not exist. I'm hoping for some more time. In fact, a lot of it. Like I said, man, he probably has a lot of peers right now here messed up with these drugs, being in these bad situations. There was some brothers killed last week. I don't even know who they were. But the Triple X, I don't even know dude's name, but the one who was killed last year on camera, the dudes who've passed away, he talks about Mac Miller and how he had a conversation with about Mac Miller with Statik Selektah. Dope record. Track 6, Watch Me, featuring Joe, the solo joint by Joey Badass. Decent song. Track 7, America's Canceled, featuring Jadakiss, Styles P, and Terminology. Jadakiss comes on here and says, too black, too strong, too powerful, too concerned with what they allow us to do. I think that's very, very ill line by Jadakiss. A lot of people aren't cognizant of the fact of what you're allowed to do versus what you probably could or should be doing. You make of that what you will. Another ill thing is here, Styles P gets into the concept of food deserts, and how if black schools nobody does anything, if the students aren't thriving and succeeding, the proper funding and help isn't being rendered. But the food desert thing, he mentioned something about a Whole Foods popping up, gentrification. Just a real quick thought on that. Businesses can't be where the community, where the local economy won't support the product mix there. But then again, if there's the perception that it's not safe to shop there, people aren't going to be there in mass spending their money there if you got to worry about getting mugged or harassed or beat up, robbed, or whatever in the parking lot. So sometimes, and it's evident here, the situation across town doesn't really look that good, but how much money was going into, we got to pay security in here, or theft, it's a lot of factors in that, but I'm glad that he brought it up. I'm glad that he brought it up. America's Canceled. Track 8, No Substitute, featuring Benny the Butcher, Paul Wall, and Brady Watt. I love Paul Wall's line, I got a lot of guns, but got even more gumption. Benny does what Benny does. Trust. Track 9, Off My Mind, featuring Fly Anakin, Highly Supreme, and Rome Streets. Decent record. Track 10, Welcome to the Game, featuring Coda the Friend and Marlon Craft. I like this Marlon Craft line. Shit, and I always been the odd type, but always break even when the odds right. Since Divock been flopping, I've been a king. Ain't an option. I'm living things that I'm jotting. Coda the Friend gets on his verse. I manifest my destiny with no pillage, no privilege. The kids I grew up with, all they know is low ceilings. They wouldn't rent to me, so bitch, I bought the whole building. Just some youngsters. I never heard of neither one of those cats, but it's interesting to hear the young people talk about the world as they see it. The ones that actually want to speak on it and offer some encouragement, some solutions, some ways to get over, and walk in their own path. Soul Custody, featuring track 11, featuring Blue and Evidence. Another very solid record. I thought Locksmith was on this album, but it might have been the Terminology song, America's Canceled. I thought that was Locksmith. Decent joint from Blue and Evidence. 12 No More featuring Little Fame, Rim the Villain, and Smoke Deezer. That's the gospel-like track. I like that record. Track 13, Ralph Lauren's Closet featuring Sean Price and Thurston Howe III. I was shocked to hear Sean Price that I wasn't familiar with. Thurston Howe III, I've been seeing that name for years. I didn't know he was still active. He's an interesting artist. Track 14 really kills it for me, man. I really love what Nick Grant, CJ Fly, and JFK do. It's called Balance Beam. My favorite sample and production on the album. CJ Fly says, I'm tight roping on these lines. Can't knock me off balance. They all actors. I'm the same on and off camera. Been kicking flows for so long, my foot got a large callus. Some says, I felt free at last when I flew across the Atlas. Can't touch me and can never rub me wrong. I'm like a cactus. That whole thing about I flew across the Atlas, man, I feel like a lot of people don't know and don't even have a good outlook on this world until they made it, until they get out of the surroundings that they emerge from. And we don't have enough interaction between everybody for certain youth to get different perspectives on the bigger world. You only know what's right in front of you. And I see a lot of these guys, I mentioned this before, a T.I. gets out and becomes popular and then realizes that he wants to act. And then his popularity allows him to act. And then now you got this dude that's doing all this stuff in cinema, you know, in movies and whatnot. Method Man, another perfect example. You don't even know, a lot of these guys don't even get to explore what they want to be and who they are until they have some success from this hip hop. JF and CJ Fly kind of sound, he really sounds like dude from Run the Jewels to me. El Producto, LP. He's kind of got the gruff in the voice and whatnot. He doesn't have like that choppy flow that and the vulgar stuff, obviously intentional vulgar that LP spits with sometimes. This JFK comes back with a nice bar about I came in the game trying to be myself. They chasing validation, but they really seeking help. Word. Statik told me to turn them losses into lessons. So I quit smoking, started counting my blessings. Again, here's somebody else kind of dealing with how they want to look at life, how they want to move in life. But you feel you got to go another way to fit in with what's working on Instagram and what's working in the mainstream. And he speaks on it. You know, these dudes are chasing validation, but they really seeking help. Some of these guys are talking about this stuff because they're trying to sell you a record. I don't really feel this way, not all of them. Track 15, Way Up, featuring Bun B, Highly Supreme, and Havoc. Bun B is reminiscing about getting in, you know, his fallen friend in Pimp C. Havoc talking about his fallen friend, his brother in Prodigy. Really thoughtful record. And then lastly is this Immortal featuring Bobby Sessions and Harley Harl. Not the finale that I would have really wanted, but it's on there. So like I said, man, my favorite joints on here are track 4, track 4, track 5, and track 14, Balance Beam. I think the album should be listened to and should be checked out. And you should hear the voices of several guys on here, several people on here. But that's what it stood out to me. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.